Hi, everybody. This is Amber and the rest of the Nature in the City team. We are early advisory council members, the three of us here on screen. We are here at our Nature Keepers and Nature Guardian event, which happens quarterly. And we do this to thank and bring together our community that gives monthly or volunteers for us all the time. So we just want to thank you so much for being part of Nature in the City's community. So we're really excited to be here today to talk about Liam's new book. It's called Butterflies of the Bay Area and Slightly Beyond. It has 700 original illustrations by Liam. It has personal essays and stories and places you can see butterflies, butterfly life cycle, just so much going on in this book. So we're really excited to talk with you about it today. And these talks are really meant to be like living room chats, really informal and no silly questions. A lot of us on this call know a lot already about butterflies, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. Yeah, like I said, all the three of us met because we all were lucky enough to join the Nature in the City. It was a steering committee at that time. So we organized events, made artwork, led nature walks, and more and more and more. And Laura and I are still serving with Nature in the City. So, and Liam is a volunteer of Nature in the City. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, just so excited to have you here today. So Liam, do you want to tell us maybe at the beginning, like what kicked off this book?
Sure. I had been approached by Bay Nature magazine to do the cover, and they were going to feature all about the are we losing the insects? That was the theme of the main story, and so I did the cover of Bay Nature magazine I'd say about 6 years ago, and then Bay Nature had a gala. They have their gala every year. And I got approached by a woman named Martina Satras from Heyday Books. She said, "We are looking for someone to do a butterfly book, and we think you're our guy." And we entered into negotiation. They gave me 3 years to paint, and COVID gave me an extra year in there, so I really had 4 years to paint. And then 2 years of, I would say, writing / editing of the final book, which only just came out about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so you were in a deep research phase, a deep illustrations phase and writing phase, and now you're in a very public phase.
Right. It's very strange because I'm still a little bit in the editing phase. It's hard to let that one go and stuff, but I got some great advice by Bob Pyle early on in this venture. He said, "Have you set up base camp yet?" And so I had set up base camp and learning to celebrate as you go. Like I'd finish one family of butterfly paintings and then have a nice beer or something. I mean, I celebrated as I went along in order to cut it down the massive scale of the project. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What was your favorite part of working on this book?
I think, I really enjoy the part where it tells you to go see the butterflies. I really thank God for iNaturalist that I could cross-reference things that I knew. Um, I also encourage people that this butterfly hasn't been seen in a certain county for a long time. Why don't you go and look for it for us? So I liked that as well. And just the ability to add my essays was just a beautiful bonus. As they said, they liked my snarky voice, which I know is a compliment in there somewhere. And so I snarked away all over some essays. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Do you want to tell a story that you think like maybe an advanced butterfly audience might appreciate from the book?
Oh, give me a second to think about that. I'm not quite sure of one.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay. No worries.
So let's see. What about butterflies in this audience are people excited to talk about today?
Liam, I got to hear Bob Pyle talk the other night, and he made an important point about highlighting the contributions of women. And it made me recall that when we met at the bookstore, Sausalito Books by the Bay,
Yeah.
you also made a real important similar point. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Well, I feel like there's just, if you pick up a field guide, sometimes just it's been sort of a subliminal misogynistic thing going on with, like, the boy is usually quite prominently displayed and the girl's kind of just this little bump out to the right. Not all field guides do this, of course not, but I felt like the more I researched butterflies and how important the females are really is that, and again, I was raised by a feminist too, that I just think it's time for little girls to see the females a little bit more prominently displayed, and the boys, who can be kind of a dime a dozen in the butterfly world. I just thought it's time for that. I want, long after I'm gone, that somebody looks at that book and she doesn't even think of that. She just sees it. And that was important to me. It was a huge, and Heyday was way behind that. They thought that was a great idea. But I encourage, I try to talk about encouraging little girls to science and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, Liam, if I can comment on that, that's one thing I very much appreciate about the book as well. And field guides in the past, I hope not mine,
No, not yours.
have in fact overemphasized the males. I mean, the holotype of a new species is generally the male. And
Okay.
yet the most distinctive figure is often in the so-called allotype, which is a footnote, which is a female. But the
Right.
other thing is that we've had a number of women who have been very important in Western butterfly studies.
Yeah.
Ximena McGlashan, of course, and Agnes and Vesey and others. But and of course, your predecessor there in San Francisco. But
Yeah.
I want to say that one thing about that particular approach that you've taken is to demonstrate the full biological capacity of the species. Now, males are not only a dime a dozen in the field guides, they're a dime a dozen in biology.
Yeah.
Vastly more males than necessary.
Yeah.
And more sperms than necessary in biology as a whole. It's the
Yeah.
eggs and the females, which are far more significant in biology and evolution. And I think your book helps to bring that out, and in a subtle way, without
Yeah.
bringing it
I
in
hope
deep
so. I
ways.
hope it's subtle. Yeah.
I so much appreciate that.
Thank you, Bob. That means the world to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wonder, before the three of us were chatting before we opened up the Zoom room, and we were talking about Liam's source material a little bit. And so you said that Harriet Reinhardt had done a lot of the preliminary work. It would, the threads
Yeah,
that you used to get to this book. And
She
then,
predates even spreadsheets. This woman went into every drawer in Cal Academy of Science and LA Museum and looked for the tags underneath and divvied out what counties things were in, and just an extraordinary legacy of work she did.
Yeah, and I that's a name. Thanks for mentioning it. Harriet Reinhardt was the daughter of Agnes Vesey. And Agnes Vesey was an important lepidopterist up here in Washington, where she discovered the federally endangered Oregon silver spot
Wow.
that became that many years later, and way back in the teens. But her daughter was Harriet, who went on to become Harriet Reinhardt, and
Yeah.
a major force, leading to Barbara Deutsch, leading to Liam in many ways, and kind of a legacy
leading
there
to all of
of
us.
studies of San Francisco butterflies. And here we have this wonderful book that's come from it all.
Well, I took a little bit of slack from alluding to you, Mia, that my early venture with you was to stalk you. I never really, I guess you could, in retrospect, look at what I tried to put myself in your orbit there in Muir Woods, but it was because I heard this woman had a passion for butterflies, and I want to apologize if it ever seemed like, who is this guy hanging around?
I want to complain. I got a complaint from Mia that her picture isn't up here.
And no, so this is what I hear. I asked them, no, listen, I said, I would like a picture of Mia Monroe to accompany this interview. And they said, quote, we don't mix books that have books that have drawings and paintings with books that have photography. They wouldn't mix the two.
illustration.
Yeah, I brought that up too, and that it went over with a resounding thud. So,
Oh, wow. Wow.
but so I championed for it, Mia. It just didn't happen.
Thank you.
I don't know why the human brain can handle a painting and a picture. I don't know what's the problem. Maybe it's a printing issue. I don't know.
Well, we have to trust the professionals sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes
Yeah,
not. Oh, that's a great segue. We talk a lot about the beauty of amateur scientists, citizen scientists, community scientists, and those with PhDs kind of merging and complementing each other's work. I'd love for you to share a little bit about the importance of the amateur in butterflies.
well, I think that, I mean, I was blessed that my journeyman years was with the LEP Society, that I stumbled into the academia of UC Berkeley and hung out with grad students that were looking for butterflies too. LEP Society, in the book is dedicated to Jerry Powell, and Jerry wrote in his address to the society in the 70s. He says, he alludes to something like, we make no distinction between the amateur and the academic. We know one needs the other to move this along. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing horribly. But I took that in. I really took that in. Not to dismiss, my God. I mean, there are no letters behind my name, and I definitely had a little imposter theory guilt about the book, but it comes from passion. And I think we can all have passion for the subject.
I'm so glad again, I'm butting in again, but Liam rightfully mentions Jerry Powell there, who was an intellectual brother of Charles Remington at Yale and Paul Ehrlich at Stanford. And all of them agreed in this profoundly. In fact, when Ehrlich and Remington and Harry Clinch set up the Lepidopterist Society in 1947, they made it very clear in the founding documents that this was to be a society that fully welcomed both amateurs and professionals, whose lines were a little more clearly drawn back then,
Right.
when systematists were actually trained and hired at the universities and museums. Today, they're far more blended. But even back then, Remington had studied in England, and he saw how class differences and academic differences separated the communities in England, in Spain, certainly in Mexico very much, and other places between the amateurs and professionals. And it's nuts because a lot of the best biology is always done by amateurs. The word itself means one who loves. So it's one who does this out of passion instead of just for the shekels, if there are any. And a professional always starts that way. Charles Darwin, our greatest biologist of all time, was, of course, an amateur. So Remington and Clinch made sure that carried on in this country, and Liam is the living embodiment of it, because he
really
went to
am.
Jerry Powell's lab, who was the consummate professional, and said, here I am. And Jerry, being in that great legacy of loving the boat, took him in. And once again, I say, here we are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had an acting teacher once in college who said, professional is a state of mind, not a paycheck.
Right on.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the butterfly counts that we all participate in are such a beautiful example of that, and bird counts, and these societies like Audubon, or, now Golden Gate Bird Alliance and North American Butterfly Association, they, there's a professional that's collating all this data, checking it, making sure it's right. But tiny groups go out across the county, across a region, and then do their best to identify and count individual butterflies, and then feed them into, a more of a professional, or they could be anyone who volunteers and signs up for this role. But I think that that's so wonderful to be, willing to just pass off somebody your data sheet, like learn the names with me, help me get this data, and help me, make a difference in science with us every year. So you want to talk about the San Francisco count a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
The history with that.
And Mia has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Then we just, we finished the 25th year of the San Francisco count. I've run it for 23 years. Some people ran it before I did. but you blink your eyes and 23 years go by. And it's grown. It's grown. It used to be the little count that could, because nobody wanted. People still dismiss San Francisco as a place for butterflies, but hopefully we've changed that with the work at Nature in the City and stuff. But the year that Jeffrey Glassberg, Bob, I don't know if you know this, decided that he didn't want any of the count circles to touch. He didn't want
I
any
didn't even know that.
He didn't want any overlapping. So what was is there was a San Bruno butterfly count, but the San Francisco count has always incorporated the northwest, the ridge top along the San Bruno Mountain. So they dissolved San Bruno, and overnight my count became the count to go to. So we had like 39 people last time, which was fantastic. You know, we
Well,
make
good for Jeff.
yeah.
And it also is because of your tireless networking and your, bugging people and all the things we know we have to do to get people out. And like people are traveling, Paul travels from Pinnacles and probably people from further away. But
Those boys on San Bruno, though, they love to go to San Bruno. They're not being pushed.
Okay. How about
Speaking
Mia? What did you have to say, Mia? I'm sorry I jumped in there.
Well, I was going to build on the counts because Liam is famous in Marin, both for the Marin count and the Point Reyes count. And also, Liam, you just set a real good example in your review that led you to realize there were a number of extirpated species. And Nature in the City, of course, knows your efforts for green hairstreak, but there are many others. And as a Park Service person, I just really so appreciate what you've done for Mission Blues, the ringlets, the checker spots, bold campaigns. And you not only came up with the idea, but you led it and were a tireless volunteer, and you inspired your professional colleagues there. So maybe you want to choose one of those other stories and tell us a teeny bit.
Bob, I write about it in the book, but one of the early LEPSOC meetings I went to was in Corvallis, and I didn't know a soul. No one knew me, and I didn't know a soul. And it was a little rough to be in a room full of people who clearly knew each other, but I was kind of new to it. And to a person, it was just an amazing Liam O'Brien, San Francisco County, my little name tag. And all they wanted to talk about was Xerxes. And it was just like, yes, that's the place where it was. I was the banner poster child for this long gone butterfly. So part of my campaigning is to just try to turn things around a little bit regarding the pall over the county. That there's been a lot of great work. Our conservation work is, my God, with the silvery blue work now, I mean, it's getting national recognition. And so it's always been an important part of me, Mia, to brand it, to give it a look, and to, Peter Brasto said the first moment in conservation is learning the name of the thing in front of you. And that really is a testament. We all, not that monarchs aren't celebrated, but there are a lot of other butterflies that kind of fall between the cracks. And it's been a lifelong thing for me to wave the flag of some of these lesser known species.
Well, and in doing so, you brought the attention to so many more people by doing so many counts, for one thing. Our counts up in Washington haven't fared too well over the years because in Western Washington, the butterflies are far poorer than in San Francisco. And we don't have enough people up here to keep all the counts going the way you have.
Yeah.
But I should mention that the counts were begun. For Charles Remington and Ray Stanford and Paul Ehrlich and others, Paul Oppler, had talked about doing counts for a long time.
Yeah.
But when they really started was founded by another woman, Sally Hughes. When we were at Yale in 50 years ago, we went on a bird count with Roger Torrey Peterson at Old Lyme. And Sally said we ought to have something like that for butterflies. And Charles Remington said, yeah, we've been talking about that for years. Let's do it. So they started that. We started that particular spring of 1974. And we were the first counts. And Berkeley has
Mount
been going
Diablo
ever since.
Yeah.
And you still do that. I got to.
Yeah, I think there were the three top ones, I think, were Berkeley, Mount Diablo, and Big Creek down along the coast. Jerry and Paul were down at Big Creek and they said, let's do one down here too.
That's right. One of the other oldest ones I think is still going is Gilpin County, Colorado.
Correct.
I got to go a few years ago. I came down especially to finally go on the Berkeley count with Jerry and you.
I know, we had a great day. That was
We had a great day. It's one of Jerry's last counts. But I want to mention too, while we we're talking about gender, just to bounce back for a minute, it does relate to this, is that the gender balance in lepidopterist studies has changed so dramatically. Because there used to be all boys at the meetings and some wives, and they'd actually have wives activities, you know, the way they used to do at a lot of meetings. Now they have spouses activities. And
Yeah.
a lot of the participants now at the Lepidopterist Society meetings are particularly women, young women, especially in the biology departments, and also the great majority of employees of the Xerces Society are young women. And
Right.
I don't know, this partly has to do with the fact of the recognition of the butterflies as a broader organism than we knew, and of course general changes in society that we've been on the cutting edge of, which is really, really good. But the fact that you have carried on these counts, Sally unfortunately has departed also, as has Tia, but she would be so happy to know where you and a few others, Paul and a few others, have taken these counts to this day.
Yeah, I
And,
did.
and it's the best example of citizen or community science that you could find.
Yeah. In fact, fascinatingly enough, there's been a lot of talk of listing or looking at the large marble, astonishes. And they have, I got contacted from a group of people that wanted to know, looking back at the annual reports, if the large marble had been on San Bruno or have ever seen on San Bruno. So I have all my back reports for 25 years. So it was neat to go back and give them something to look at. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, important stuff.
Very important stuff.
Yeah.
I have another segue that I'm thinking of, which is the difference between, how we celebrate those butterflies that might be on the edge, and how we also celebrate those butterflies that are in everyone's back garden, and how to help people see that there's more than just the endangered butterflies, or there's more. I think there's that push and pull. Like we all love the mission blue butterfly. We all want it to be on, all around the Bay Area, but it is, it's holding on, it's limited. There's a lot of potential loss and, things that happen. And then there's a green hairstreak somewhere in the middle. And then you might have, in San Francisco, a red admirable. I did it for Barbara.
We did it for
Butterfly that is, just so common because it's moved over to a street weed. So how do you, in the book, how did you kind of like find equity between the?
Well, fascinating enough, the day they came to me, they picked the cover, and the day that they came to me, and I couldn't believe that they had picked the common checkered skipper. I mean, quite ubiquitous in our city. But then I came full around, and it's like, that's a wonderful thing that they're picking a very common butterfly like that. I think I mentioned last night, Amber and I and Laura did a book shop last night in the West Portal. And I mentioned that when I did my surveying in 2007 and again in 2009, that I found approximately 34 breeding species within San Francisco. But I found the interesting part of it is that when I crunched my data, at least 18 of those girls are using weeds in the sidewalk. And I thought that was a really interesting stat, drawing attention to some of the things that are, and again, for lack of wanting to use the word adapting, but existing within a city with so much cement and sidewalk, that I think that's a fascinating thing going on. And I like to celebrate those things too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just really interesting how much, we can want. I think that we know the concept that if we can save the most sensitive species, it provides a lot of habitat for many others, most of the time, not
Right.
always. but that's kind of what we think about with Green Hairstreak corridor. But yeah, how would we think about butterflies that are right on the edge?
Well, right on the edge, that's a tough one because even if you go back in time and this was all a dune ecosystem, the diversity probably wasn't as wild as we think it was. That I'm not quite sure that we've lost a lot. What we now have are a lot of generalists. We have a lot of butterfly, like I said, using weeds and things like that. But there's definitely things I'm thinking about. There's an endangered plant that the Presidio tried to put back into Chrissy Lagoon called Sueda, a California sea bite or sea blight. And it's a huge, if you go out to Pier 94, it's covered in pygmy blues, just covered in pygmy blues. So that would be a neat plant. They tried to get it into Chrissy, but Chrissy becomes too brackish of water. It's not open to the bay enough. So that's kind of something I'm talking to Lou Stringer about a little bit. Rare and elusive, I'm not quite sure means that it's ready to blink out. I mean, look how the green hairstreak's held on in sort of magnificent isolation. It's, you know, I'm always thrilled by what's going to be the next project, you know, and I'm not quite sure what it is at this point, but where people can connect to it.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to see, I mean, with the Silvery Blue Xerxes kind of project, how a project like that can bring so much attention to beautiful long-term restoration projects. Like the
right.
Presidio relocated, I don't know how many truckloads of sand to even, you know, make a dune and then plant it with this incredible diversity and really maintain just, I mean, we were there for our butterfly walk in the spring, and there were the silver bees,
Digger bees.
silver digger bees.
Yeah.
And there were thousands of them.
Yeah,
And that's kind of
beautiful
you know, it's not the bug that everybody's there talking about to celebrate, but it's really, you know, stunning to see what restoration can do across the board.
And you mentioned long-term, the Lobos Dunes restoration was one of the projects that Peter Bresta worked on in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the silvery blues seem to be actually reproducing.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent.
Liam, can I ask you what family is Sueda in? Is it a chenopod?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. I know it's spelled Sueda, the genus Californica.
Laura's
it is.
looking it up.
Laura's
now.
looking it up.
Do we have any other questions from folks, or is there
Yeah,
something
yeah,
more to
yeah.
say?
I would like to ask Liam to expatiate a little on the connection between, and this is a hard one. This is the
I would expect nothing less.
That's challenging.
this is the kernel of the thing. How would you speak to the connection between your field work, which continues to be epic, and the picture on the page? What is the magic that happens between the two?
I think those moments are sort of, they don't happen very often, but when they do, they kind of burn into your brain, or they give you its own neuron path, and you just keep going it over and over again. Definitely, if I see something interesting, you know, I always say I love butterflies, but I'm also equally enthralled in our relationship to them and their behavior. Their behavior is becoming more and more important to me. Just all those small little nuances. So when I see behavior, I like to recreate that if I can with a painting. It'll be interesting now, Bob, because my next book, I'm going to collaborate with a woman on plants, and I'm going to be painting more obscure plants in the Bay.
Oh, nice.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
I've seen it happen, of course, of being in the field with you in various places, but particularly at the ranch south of Mount Adams.
Okay.
What was it called?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forget that. Yeah. Was that the northwestern,
North Cascades Institute put on
North
summer
Cascades.
butterfly workshops, and Tia
That's
and
right.
I led them, and Liam
That's
and
the first
other
time I met you.
friends came
Yeah.
along. That's right. And I
Yeah,
remember being in the field with you, just south of Mount Adams, north of the Flying L. The ranch was called
that's
Flying
right. Flying
L.
L.
At
Yeah,
one
but
time it was a fly in only, but by the time we got there, you could drive there. But wonderful place, wonderful base. We go up toward Mount Adams,
yes.
Patwa, and and look for this and that, butterflies mostly. But it wasn't just that. And I remember, Liam, watching you the day that we found the larvae abundant of the big silk moth,
Oh, wow.
uh, Hemiaris, not Hemiaris,
Eglanter,
Hemiluca,
Eglanteria.
Hemiluca. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Hemiluca. No.
Yeah, Hemiluca Urialis. No, I'm sorry, that's
Oh, that's Hyaloptera. I
that's
think
Hyaloptera. I'm talking about the gorgeous day moth, the goat moth.
the
that-
elegant day-flying sheep moth. Yes.
Yeah,
Hemiluca.
the elegant, that's right. Hemiaris
Elegant,
elegant.
Hemiluca eglanterina.
Eglanterina, thank you. I was getting confused because you and I also saw the black and white ones over on the east side.
Right,
on our
right.
trip a few years later.
I
But
I did the Mount Shasta butterfly count last year. It's the first one. There's only been two now. And I had a dead eglanterina on the ground, and I was watching how the ants were breaking it apart and taking it away. But still, even in death, that moth is so beautiful. The pinks and the oranges.
that's right. And I saw you see that. We had both the larvae there on the snowberry and
Oh,
also the adults flying around. We caught a couple up, and the gorgeous pink and maroon and gold and yellow together. And I saw that happen in your face. And you went on to do an exquisite painting of that. And that was the very same day we found the rubber boa. And you
Oh,
were
okay.
equally entranced by that. So I know it's not just a Lepidoptera that gets
Yeah.
you going.
I just wanted a shout out quickly that I took a monarch class from Bob in Eastern Washington once, and we had 5 days with absolutely not a single monarch. But you made that class so wonderful, and we kept.
No, you're the one because that was very soon after Tia had died, and I was a mess. I was a wreck.
Yeah.
You basically took that class over. And
I just
serious.
taught you a few things to show. That's all.
I was useless, totally useless.
Oh.
And Liam went out and he caught things like the black and white goat moth, sheep moth, Hera, Pseudohazes Hera, or
Yeah.
Hemiluca Hera. And he brought that back and other things. And if there had been a monarch in the county, he would have caught it. But it was Liam who kept that class going and made it work.
You talk in one of your books about being put in the gravitational pull of the species. I forget, maybe it was a book on Nabokov's blues or something you had done an essay. And that's what you did. You put us in the gravitational pull of the monarch, but we never needed to see a monarch. It was just kind of an amazing experience. It really was.
Well, thanks to you, my friend.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna pause. Ooh, Mia is showing some of Liam's
Oh, no.
monarch illustrations. So lovely. Thank you, Mia.
These are envelopes that I've sent to Mia every year with my monarch data in it. And the main thing is it has to go through the mail. And I just like shoving art through the mail.
Oh, that's wonderful. Show it again, Mia.
She's
We need
collected
it
them.
again.
They always come to her annually.
Oh, you lucky person.
Oh,
I
And
will
the
miss
post
them.
office took care of them. Oh,
Great.
wow.
I told her to save them. They'll be worth a fortune.
no kidding. Those are frogging gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm gonna stop everybody and just say, who has read the book? Raise your hand.
Me,
Or part of it. You don't have to have read the whole thing. Who still needs a copy of the book?
I haven't got my Blurber's copy yet.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
I can send you one, Bob. That's fine.
no, the publisher has to do that, Liam. Don't you do
The
it.
publisher
I'm new
has
at
to.
this.
The publisher does it. The author does not do it.
No. Okay.
I'll buy another one, but I got to get my
Oh,
Blurber's
no,
copy
no.
too.
Well, we have a book that advisory council member Helen Doyle donated specifically to give away to someone at this talk. So I'm not
Larry or
sure,
Tom?
just does Larry or Tom, do you have a book yet?
Marcia.
Marcia?
Oh, Marcia came to my first session there in the Garden of Fragrances in Golden Gate Park. So I know Marcia has one.
We gotta ask you to speak up. Larry, we can hear you. Do you have a copy yet?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we'll get you one. Okay, we'll send you one your way because
Okay, thank you.
it's really, yeah, it's
As objective as I can be, there's a lovely blurb on the back by Robert Michael Pyle. So which
Well, don't leave Tom out. Tom's leaving the room, but don't leave him out. Send him one too.
Well-
Bill me.
Send him
So,
to his
I
local
know
bookshop.
virtually nothing about butterflies. And so I feel really lucky to watch you guys go at it. It's really fun.
It's like a
Um,
mini Lepsock meeting right now.
I'm
I-
sorry.
I encourage you, Larry, to go on some butterfly counts because I always say that the people that are intimidated, like, well, I don't know it, so I can't add to that day. But I always say it's your set of eyes that might be looking this way when the rest of us are looking this way.
Yeah, of course.
And you can say, there's one, and somebody can turn and ID it. But it's really a baby step like that. Just put yourself out in that.
Well, my interest got piqued somewhat when I went to the Nature in the City field trip at the Presidio to look at the habitat restoration and talking about the Xerces. And that was fun. And so now I'm paying attention to the butterflies that are in my backyard.
Good.
And if they hold still enough for long enough, I'll get a photo so I can try to identify them. But otherwise, last night I said, well, maybe in preparation I should read a little bit about butterflies. So I read about butterfly flight,
Oh, cool.
which I thought was totally fascinating.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to speak a little bit about that, that would be great.
Well, I always got encouraged very early on by reading Ken Kaufman's Field Guide to Butterflies because he reveals the party trick that we all know, Bob knows, and I know and stuff, is that Ripley's, believe it or not, if you stick with this long enough, you don't even need the butterfly to land. You can identify and speciate and almost sex a butterfly on the wing. And that really can occur if you stick with it long enough. I mean, sure, there's going to be errors here or there. So if that's not a good dangling carrot for you. And again, you're in San Francisco. I always think it's funny. The birders are like, dude, I'm taking on my butterflies next year. I'm taking on my butterflies. And I'm like, okay, we have 34 species of butterflies and 275 birds. I think you can do it. I really think you can do it. But people are more intimidated by butterflies. It's kind of fascinating. Bob, you have anything to say about that?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, way back in 74, again, 50 years ago, when I were watching Washington Butterflies, my first book, and it was the first American book stressing butterfly watching. That was my master's thesis, and I was trying to push the idea of butterflies as a recreational resource, if you want to put it in those old utilitarian terms, alongside birds. Why couldn't butterfly watching become what birds have, or at least something like that? And of course, my ulterior motive was to develop a clientele for butterfly conservation.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of an uphill climb at first, and I have to admit that Jeff Glassberg and his crew have gone a long way toward building that greatly over what it had become at first.
Right.
And more power to them on that. But I think part of that, Liam, has to do with the flickering motion of butterflies. Yes, you can get physically closer to them than you can most birds. But on the other hand, birds, when they stop, they sit there and they don't move too much. I mean, warblers are always in motion, and bush tits and chickadees. But a lot of birds, when they perch, and they give you a moment with the binoculars.
Yeah.
Also, back then, we didn't have close focusing binoculars. Now we have lots of them, and that helps. And
Yeah.
iPhones made a huge difference. I don't even have one, but I understand from others that, they're much easier to photograph than they were when I went around with my telephoto and my cheap Exacto camera and so my Exacta camera and so on.
Yeah.
So people have become more familiar now and are beginning to realize they can be familiar with butterflies. But I think for a long time, people felt the flickering, rapid movement of butterflies was a bit intimidating, even though they could get closer. And, they are harder than birds in some ways
Yeah.
and easier in some other ways. People are finally getting that, I think.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
I want to take it back to the more beginner level again and kind of get back to what Larry was saying about butterfly flight. I think it's so interesting that every butterfly has a different kind of flight pattern. Some are up in the canopies of the trees, some are down in the meadows, some are coming to flowers, some don't really come to flowers as much, and then my mentor in butterfly gardening anyway is Barbara Deutsch, and she would go out and at around noon, she would go into her butterfly garden and she would mist the whole driveway and all of the plants near the driveway. And then all of the butterflies would come in and take nectar and mud puddle and do all the things they do. But it was so fascinating because she told me that, I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but she told me that the butterflies are coming to flowers for water and more than even the sweet nectar, like a food source, but for the water that's in them.
It was in Barbara's garden that I observed, Bob. I'd never seen this before, but it was an Aureus anglewing with its proboscis extended into a dead thistle head. And I saw spit go down and then it sucks the spit back up. It's pulling salt out of a dead flower head. Thought that was amazing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was really
that's a great observation.
Yeah.
But Amber, don't you think that Barbara also possessed a singular kind of pheromone that she spread herself that attracted butterflies all her life?
I think she had the long distance attraction for butterflies. But I think the misting, she was religious about it at noon.
Yeah.
Because she knew that at that point of the day, the butterflies and birds were looking for moisture, and that they could come to her garden because they came to rely on that she would do that.
That's right.
She had a lot of really interesting practices that are just really beautiful and kind.
Yeah. We miss her terribly.
We miss her.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, you went out of the room at just the wrong time to hear it. But we all decided by committee that that you should get a book too. So you're getting one as well as Larry.
Oh, thank you. But I will definitely buy one. I'll support Liam. That's very kind. Thank you. Yeah.
Great.
No, Tom, we have one for you as well. It's signed already, so please don't.
Oh my goodness.
We'll bring it to you next time we see you.
Thank you. Fantastic. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Enjoy the book. Enjoy the book.
I wanted to ask you to tell us one of the stories that just kind of, I mean, I love the stories of butterfly interactions that you've had with people, kind of just neighbors or anything that one of the stories that you want to tell that maybe the people on this call haven't heard before.
Yeah. I mean, you don't mind if it's the same one we went from last week? So I was in 2009, I repeated my transects in the city, and I was out at Candlestick, which is along the county line border to San Mateo, just in Visitation Valley. And all of a sudden I saw a very white butterfly shoot by me, but if you stick with this long enough, you start, and I can begin because I'm an illustrator as well, but whites in butterflies can move into light blues. That you can see a tinge of blue in the white. And that always keys you away, at least from a cabbage white for me. And so I wasn't sure what it was, but I had my net, and which you shouldn't have in a state park, but I had been carrying it. And I netted this butterfly. But as I netted the butterfly, I kind of noticed out of the left side of my eye, an entire classroom of third graders. And the third graders got one look at this net, me swinging the net and catching, and I had 30 little faces all around me within seconds, just seconds, like, what are you doing, mister? What are you doing? You know, just like then I've got a butterfly net. You know, it made them so happy to see a butterfly net and just the joie de vivre of some adult out there swinging this butterfly net. So I had it by the thorax slightly, and I saw that it was protodicea. It was the checkered white, a butterfly that does not come into our county very often, for even though San Mateo. And I knew for a fact, because I know the historic record pretty well for the county, this was a butterfly that really needed to be in the drawer at Scal Academy of Science. This was something I wanted to bring to them. And almost in flawless timing, just like the historic Say It Ain't So Joe, there's a little boy that sticks his face up to me and he goes, "You're not gonna kill it, are you, mister?" And I'm just like, "Gonna kill it, are you, mister?" And I hold this thing and it needs to be in a drawer, and I have 30 little doe-eyed faces looking at me, and yes, I was a good boy. I let the thing go, but that's my butterfly story for the day.
Now that is a great story, and it tells a couple of great truths, but one of them is how important nets remain. And the fact that some butterflies in the right place and time, without those 30 faces, do need to go in the drawers, or we don't know.
Right.
In the past couple of years, 2 young women working for the Xerces Society, going out doing bog monitoring near the Oregon coast in 2 different places, have discovered 2 brand new, hugely divergent subspecies of the Mariposa copper, one of which we named for one of them, Paul Hammond and I, and the other one, which we're soon going to name for the other young woman. But the fact is, those are both instant endangered species because they live in such tiny little bogs and it's the only place in the world they live. But we would not know that. We could not demonstrate that, and thereby convince the Forest Service, the BLM, and the other entities involved to conserve those bogs if there were not some specimens in the Oregon State arthropod collection. So that's an important truth. But you got to pick your battles. So we got those 30 faces there. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you let it go.
Exactly.
But the other thing is, you probably all know about the great book by Richard Louv, L-O-U-V, called The Last Child in the Woods,
Yeah, famous
Saving
book.
Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say, and Richard agrees with me, I've written about this topic quite a bit, and we talked about it a lot. There is no cheaper or more useful tool in our arsenal, if I can use that word that doesn't really fit in the context, to combat nature deficit disorder than an insect net. Now, we differ in this with our brother Jeff Glassberg, founder of the North American Butterfly Association, who I was praising a moment ago, but we do differ on the question of nets. Though he learned everything he knows at the end of a net stick, he went all no nets, and you know how converts go completely the other way. Well, he wants to abolish nets from our vocabulary and our world. And that would be unfortunate because nothing like a bug net that you put in the hands of a kid is going to get them out there getting away from the gall dang devices and actually connecting with the world again. And I've seen it happen with kids who are already device addicted. And they're cheap, they're ready, and not very many kids use them anymore. Used to be lots of kids did that. And that's why some of us are here. But I think that when you give a kid a camera or a set of binoculars when they're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and they're kind of interested for a minute, and then they put it down. Give them a net and watch them go. So all those kids, Liam, they might still not have wanted you to dispatch the butterfly.
Dispatch.
If you could have taken all those butterflies.
My favorite phrase.
Well, that's the name. That's the word.
Yes, I know.
Lepidopterists used to use.
Absolutely.
And now dispatch it thus. But if you put nets in all their hands, the ranger would have gone crazy because those kids would have been
Yeah,
all
I
over the
would,
park.
Yeah.
bringing the butterflies.
I mentioned it to a teacher, Charlotte Hill, and she said, Liam, if I passed out 30 nets, there'd be mayhem. She just said,
Yeah.
it would be utter mayhem.
But it's good mayhem. It's good trouble.
So we're getting close to the end of the hour, but before we depart, I wanted to ask you, Liam, when you took this book on, and now that you've had some time to reflect about it,
Mhm.
what do you hope to see? Like what's your
Well, I hope to bring attention to some more obscure butterflies with the book that are in our area that maybe no one has seen. And just, spread the joy of, as Bob was saying, just butterfly watching and going to, I like I tell you to go see Arctic skippers. The Bay Area has very interesting things that some of our higher altitude butterflies are in some of our lower altitudes. And Arctic skippers fly in Mendocino of all places, which is along the coast. I tell you where to go see it, make a left, make a right, stop, and they should be right there. And I've done it a few times to make sure my recipes are correct. They seem to be cooperating, staying where they're supposed to be staying.
so people need to go out over a number of years,
No,
probably in
hopefully.
seasons to
Yeah.
try and I wonder if there's anybody who's going to make a life list of your
Yeah,
places.
they wanted a list in the book, but that got cut too, and the editing gets kind of ruthless at the end.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. We had a double header. We did
We
last
did.
night and today.